Good evening, Dr. Salem.
Hey, it's great to be back. I feel like it's been a little moment, and it's great to be back. How's it going this evening? How's your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was good, but obviously I'm ready here now for Christmas. So I'm just getting a head start here. But no, my Thanksgiving went great, and excited about this episode because this one's about giving, right? I mean, when you think about it, it goes along with Christmas, and I think it's going to be neat to help people understand what they can do with their embryos, and so I'm excited about this. It's a company we've been working with. Um, Talking about this topic tonight, when we get into donating your embryos, what do you talk to your patients about when it comes to extra embryos? Like what and from that matter.
Yeah, oh my gosh. This is a funny thing that honestly, I think it comes up early in the conversation for a minority of patients. Like only maybe 5% of all my patients bring this up early because most people are worried they won't get enough embryos or
Yeah.
this is just not top of mind for them. But a few patients bring this up now at the same time. Very, very common conversation to come up late in the game, right? People have had couple transfers, they now have their child, and we're at their graduation ultrasound for maybe their second or their third child, and they're like, oh my God, Dr. Salem, I've still got 2 or 3 embryos that are, in your cryo tanks. Like, what am I going to do with them? And it's kind of like this conundrum that they almost like never thought of, honestly.
Yeah.
And a lot of them want to be very giving with them, and a lot of them are conflicted about what to do with them. And it's not a short conversation, and I'm really, really, really happy that we have this group with us today of acts of kindness to talk about it. But I don't know. I mean, what do you feel like? When do you think this comes up in conversation with your patients?
Yeah, I think I do bring it up to people because I ask them, one of the things I ask in the beginning is like how many kids they want. And so if I have someone with a lot of follicles, I do bring this up. And I ask them, do you have any concerns about having extra embryos? And if they say yes, then I go over the different options. I say like, well, what can you do with them? And I talk to them, we could discard them. That's one option. And obviously no one likes that one. Matter of fact, one of the people today's show posted in the thing that, that you shouldn't discard any embryos, and there are people who believe that, and that's okay. Then, I talk to them about research, and I tell them how it benefits our clinic, how it benefits improving the quality of everything. So that's the next option. We also talk about things like, embryo donation as well, that they can do, and not just to a friend, but to, other places. And I explain to them that how embryo donation, it's not as easy as it sounds. And so what's neat, and we'll get into this in a little bit here, is groups like AOK make it easier. I tell patients all the time, I'm like, unless you can find someone, and then, you got to deal with the legal stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes with it. And so, yeah, I talk to patients about it directly. We see it, even though patients don't say it. I'll give you an example. We have so many patients who keep paying their bill, storage bill, and yet, they're not using them. And I mean, that's, almost like a car payment sometimes, some of these bills. And so, what I think is useful is, as you said, if you don't go in planning this, then the problem is you end up with these embryos, and then you're in this kind of weird dilemma. Like, what do I do? What if I want more kids later? And so, this is where this company AOK comes into play. And for you, I mean, at least all the clinics I've been to, we have never donated embryos. Now, we don't donate embryos as well, but we do with AOK or other companies that do this type of service. Have you ever been at a company that donated embryos? And, what was the process like? Or, did it go smooth for patients?
Yeah, I was part of one group that had an internal, donor sort of database, if you will, and like they did internal donation. It was limited. I think that was one of the, frequent issues that came up, is that people felt like, oh, there's only, X number of embryos that I can accept. And it was because of geography, right? Like you're adopting embryos at the same clinic that other people have donated them. There were some concerns around that part as well. Was it smooth? I would say, probably could have been better. Probably. And the idea here is that for this clinic that I was at, it wasn't the priority. It wasn't the main effort they were doing.
Yeah.
A little bit of a secondary effort, very noble secondary effort. But because of that, I think some of the logistics of it was a little bit tricky. But yeah, I mean, I think that, this question about, having an internal donor versus a donor, embryo donor bank versus an external one is a really important one. I hope we get to talk about it a little bit more today.
Yeah, I was actually talking to our guests before we got on here, and I was telling them how I was a little bit disturbed by a conversation I had with someone who, they were approaching me to, like, I won't use the word join them, but it was kind of this approach of, telling me how they wanted to create this embryo donation, this clinic, and, do tons of embryo donation. And the word he said to me was, "It's extremely lucrative." And then to me that, like, was disturbing. I'm like, what? Why are we so excited about making lucrative? And it's true. There's a lot of these places, that these private ones, that do it to make money, which is kind of sad. But with AOK, one of the really cool things is that they don't really try to gouge people, and so one of the things I'm looking forward to is learning a lot about them. These are, two people who started this company, from what I understand, and this is their mission. It's kind of like you and I when we started our clinic. This idea of, making things affordable. They wanted to make affordable, and again, to help not have embryos discarded. More people can get them. So I definitely want to bring them on here a second. I mean, anything you have to say, talk about before we bring them on?
No, please, let's bring them on. We'd love to kind of get their opinions and thoughts and things, and have them, partake in this really interesting conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, I hope people know too. Like, come on, and we want to hear from you, please. And let me actually make sure I put that banner up so that people, know how to get on here. And so, anyways, Jamie and Shalstar, pleasure to meet you both again.
Good to see you.
Here, you guys are much better looking than we are, so I'm gonna put you guys through the top, just because no one wants to see us. So
we try.
and thank you so much for being on so late. I know it's late where you guys are. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves? I was, kind of giving a little bit of an introduction to you guys, but I'd love for you to just, tell about yourself.
Hi, so my name's Jamie Best. I'm one of the co-founders of Acts of Kindness Embryo Donation. Shalstar and I have been working together for over a decade, and it's just really amazing that we get to do this as our career, because it's very near and dear to both of our hearts. We both had our own losses, so we do understand that side of it. And we're just very thankful that we get to help bring hope back to people who have lost that. And we get to do it every day, and we get to do it together. So
Yes.
That's a little bit about me. I'll hand it over to Shalstar.
Yep. And thank you again for having us, Dr. A and Dr. Salem. I'm Shalstar, one of the co-founders of AOK. I am a IVF mom, so I have a son that's in 5th grade. So not only have I gone through IVF myself, but I have a son, so I look at things from the donor perspective and parent perspective. So it's really an honor to help assist donors and recipients in matching. So thank you again for having us on so we can share about AOK.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to get some people send in some questions as well, and tell us. I'd love to learn, like, what got you guys into this. Like, what was it that made you say, I really want to get into this? Because it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of coordination and things like that.
It is. I'll kind of give you my background story as for why I wanted to get into it, and let Shalstar give hers. For me, it was really about answering a problem, and that problem was the affordability of IVF in healthcare. I came into this as a financial counselor dealing with insurance benefits, and as most of you know, in the IVF realm, it only covers testing. It doesn't cover the treatment part in most cases. And in a lot of those cases, a lot of them had to use donor eggs, donor sperm to create embryos because their gametes were just no longer available. So for them, they're spending anywhere between $30,000 to $40,000 just for a chance to have an embryo. And sometimes, as we all know, things don't work out. You spend that much money, and sometimes you just don't even get an embryo at the end of the day. So as a creative solution, I just kind of looked at it and said, what if we offered it in a cheaper route and did like fresh embryo donation, where they got a few of the embryos and the rest went to somebody else and split costs. So that's kind of how the whole thing started, was an in-house program. And then from there, we just created Acts of Kindness a few years later, because we have build, measure, learned. We listened to the recipients, we listened to the donors, we understood all of their issues, all of their concerns, and tried to really narrow it down and just fix that and create a program that really catered to that. So for me, it was about really helping those who needed the help. And that's why I got into it.
And we also saw a need. A lot of the in-house programs are anonymous. So we saw about 50% were looking for a semi-open or open relationship. You know, they wanted to have communication with the donor and the recipient. So we were like, well, this is just an anonymous program, and there's a huge need for people that are wanting a relationship. So that's why what we offer. So we offer closed, semi-open, and open relationships with our donation program. So it's been wonderful to see all the relationships come about, and it's just been
The way they
wonderful.
all differ, all
Yes.
the basic preferences of everybody, the needs, the wants, and just how we can really build a program that caters to all of them. It's really cool.
I'd love to learn a little bit more about what you mean by the sort of open relationship, you know, and versus the anonymous, you know, donation, because I think a lot of our viewers might not know the kind of the nuances of that. So can we talk about that a little bit and kind of just give us the landscape a little bit of what happens in regards to the donor embryo world? Yeah.
So in the donor recipient relationship world, there is a multiple array of actions you can take and not take. So we kind of just broken it down into 3 major categories with us, and that's just the relationship types. The first one's going to be your non-identified closed donor and recipient. That's basically where you're going to have a donor come in and donate their embryos to us, and the recipient's going to get just the basic information. They're not going to get any demographic information, but they will get like the physical characteristics, the medical history, the OB history, the IVF details, the embryo grading. So still all of that medical history that you need when you're going through it. You just won't have that connection with the donor or that relationship with the donor. But we do in those cases also have a clause in the agreement where they can be open ID donors. So if a child was created when they turned 18, they could reach out to get some additional information. So there are some closed cases that do offer that. But majority of those cases are, you know, strictly anonymous. We're donating, you're receiving, it's done.
Okay.
Semi-open is like that next step up. And it's basically where you're still not going to get identifying information with us. We register you through a third-party platform, which is called EDC Donor Nexus, but you will have the opportunity to communicate in there securely with one another. And it will also make you share medical and lifestyle updates with one another at least once every 2 years. That way you stay connected, you stay informed. And then the open is just a step up from that. It's basically the same thing, only there's a lot more communication involved. And then if the recipients and donors decide to take it off the platform, they're allowed to do that at their own facilitation. So we really just try to keep it straightforward, easy for everybody, set those expectations. And if they want to go it above and beyond, then they can do so at their own discretion if they both feel comfortable doing it.
Wonderful. And curious, like, let's say somebody's interested in this. Like, where does the process start? How do they get plugged in? Like, what is that environment like? How long does this take?
So I will go over the donation side of that, and then Shalstar can go over the recipient side, since it is 2 different processes. The donation side is pretty straightforward. Most of them either get sent to us from like a long-term storage facility, or referred to us from a physician, an embryologist, or they find us online. The easiest step to do would be to go to our website. On our website, there is a For Donors page. You're going to go straight to that page, and it's laid out easily to where you can find the form. You'll put your information in the form. That form is going to send us back your details, which will let us know that you're wanting to donate to us. At that point, we're going to send you a text message and an email with the link to go online and start completing your profile. Once you get in and get your profile completed, we're also going to kind of reach out to you along the process to help walk you through it. go over your donation preferences and things like that. But once you finalized it, we're going to send you a medical records request. They're going to complete that request. We'll request the records. We'll review the records, decide whether or not we can accept the donation. And then if we can accept the donation, we'll go ahead and send you your donation consent. And then we coordinate the shipment to CryoFuture, which is where we store the embryos, take over the storage fees. So there's no fees for you to donate or anything like that anymore.
So for the donors, like Jamie said, there's no fee to donate. We don't cover any back storage or any admin fees. Some clinics, they charge admin fees. We've seen a wide array of fees that clinics charge. But for us, we take care of the shipment. So it's pretty straightforward. If we can accept your donation, that's exactly how it works. We like to set up a call with all of our donors as well. When you reach out to us, you get us. We're not bots. We're real people. We're a small but mighty team. We love connecting with our donors and just getting to know you and assisting you along the way. You can text us at any time. That's one of the things a lot of our donors like about AOK is that we're accessible. You can text us, one of us will respond. If you call and leave a message, no question is too small. You can always reach out to us. We just love helping people. So.
And then the recipient side's kind of like the same thing. You would just go to our for recipients page, let us know that you're interested. We would reach out, give you the link to go online, and it's free to register to view our embryos. So once you register, you have access to view all the embryos that we have available. And if you like something, you just simply click the reserve button. At that point, we'll send that profile and the records over to your clinic to approve it. If they approve it, then you can go ahead and match. And we'll send you the agreement to sign, and it's all finalized within a couple of days. It's really straightforward and easy.
The people that I've spoken to who have worked with you guys, they've been very, very happy. Very excited. I know one thing that's a little bit unique about the way you guys do it compared to other places. As other places, it's almost like you pay for the transfer, it's all one package, and you get a shot. But you guys are a little bit different, right? You make it kind of like they get a certain batch of eggs. So if the person has 4, something like that, they get 4. You mind telling me a little bit more about that? I mean, if you do that, do they guarantee them they're going to use them all, or like what? How does that work? What if they don't use them all and then they're done having kids?
When we talked to the donors, we realized with the programs that we're aware of that are out there, like you said, they could have 20 embryos and then go to 20 different families.
Mm-hmm.
We like to keep the embryos together because a lot of the times you want genetic siblings. So we like to make sure that the siblings stay together. We also have it in our contract that if the recipient is done completing their family, that they donate back to our program. So we can kind of control and make sure that we meet the donor's preferences with the next donation as well. So a lot of the recipients understand that, and the donors love that about us too. So.
Have you? I don't know if you've had any patients yet from AOK. I have. Have you? I think you're on mute.
That would help. I don't know if anybody has. I know a couple of people have reached out, have been very interested. I've got to say, I don't know if I know personally a person has gone all the way through. I'm sure they will very soon, though, because obviously you guys, are spreading the word and you're sort of linking these various pieces. So, I'm curious, like on your end, Dr. Amos, when your patient was going through, like on your end, how long did the process take from when they were kind of first interested to, finally having the embryo transfer and being successful, hopefully?
Yeah, so we wanted to make this a fast process. I should take a step back so you guys even know how we got introduced to you from Marla. We were in a research study, and as I mentioned, we've never been an embryo donation center, and we don't plan to ever be one as a donation center. We're good at what we do, and that's what we want to do. But we did this research study, and we had all these embryos that were created through research. And then they told us anyone can use them. And for us, we would never want to charge for it. So we literally said, they're free, whoever wants them. And so we went and we had, families who chose to have these embryos. And then we didn't charge, we just charge a regular transfer cost. And they went so fast. I couldn't believe how fast they went. I was shocked. I didn't realize there was that much of a desire for donor embryos to that point. And some of these people I'm telling you, they're so happy now. Like they come to me all the time saying, thank you. Like this is what we needed. And they would have never been able to afford it going somewhere else, paying, $12,000-$15,000 just for one shot. And so when we ran out of embryos, I guess there's another clinic that also used to do this, but I don't think they don't do they're not donating the embryos out anymore. There was something they went to you guys, and then that's how it came across us. And we were asked, hey, would we be willing to take the embryos from the study, to us? And we said, absolutely. We just don't do the process here. And so that's how we started. And so I wanted to make it simple. So we make it a very simple 20-minute consult, because it really is more of a, just make sure it's safe, make sure they're okay, answer the questions. But it's not like we're trying to figure out why they're infertile. And we try to make the process pretty fast. And so within about 20, 30 minutes, after I go through everything and have our conversation with them, basically we let them go through right away. And so the whole process might take 6 weeks to 3 months at the most. That would purely just be, getting things here. But it's been really good. I mean, there was one patient I had that actually, I told him, I said, I don't think you need donor embryos. And so we had a conversation about that. And I wanted them to at least have have that understanding. But yeah, it's been really good. And so at least for me, Dr. Salem, it's been very fast because it's a lot different. It's like it's different than like donor eggs, because you have the embryo. Now it's just about making sure the transfer is going to go well. And so my big thing is I just go through to make sure they don't have any uterine problems, stuff like that, because I don't want them to waste their time getting these embryos and then find out, oh, and by the way, you have a giant fibroid that, prevents this from working. So what about your guys' end? I mean, I didn't even know something like you exist before us. And we're so excited now, because now, like, when our patients say to us, well, what do we do? I'm like, oh, reach out to Act of Kindness. That, they'll work with you with your embryos. But what happens, let's say, if someone has embryos and you can't find, you can't find someone for them? In that case, do they just keep storing them and waiting?
In some cases, yes. It really just depends on the recipient. We have had cases where we can't accept the embryos just due to like their ineligibility or them being abnormal or the lack of records, just different reasons. So with those, we have really just given them our knowledge and our expertise and tried to guide them with a private match, like on Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Giving them extra resources to reach out to. Like we do partner with IVF ART that takes embryos for research. And what they do is they use those embryos to help train embryologists. So it's more like a student teaching program, and some recipients like that because they know it's going to help the future of embryology.
Yeah.
So we still do try to give them an option so they at least have some value out of that embryo other than just throwing it in a medical waste bag and calling it medical waste.
Yeah.
Also, we have friends at Moxie Matching. They send donors to us, and they're a private matching agency. So, we're in this to help people like you both are. So if we're not the right fit and a private match is a better option for them, we'll send them over to Moxie Matching. Or if they want to be, some agencies, one thing that donors need to understand, which a lot of people, like you said, have never heard of this. So when donors reach out to us, they're like, I never even knew that this was an option for me. I hear that every single week, just about. And it surprises me every time. But once we get into the conversation, we can understand what the donor is looking for, and if we're a right fit. And if we're not a right fit, we love helping people. So we'll send them to another program if we can. So
how does someone, let's say someone's ready to go, they want to go with AOK, how do they start this? Do they Do they reach out to you? Is there a website they go to? Like, how would you recommend the listeners listening how to get started if they want to use donor embryos?
Come to our website. Our website has a lot of great information on it. It's got several different pages for you to look at. So there's resources on how to adopt from us and how to donate to us, as well as like extended resources. So if you need like a surrogate, our genetic counseling, or just different legal advice, transportation, anything like that that you can think of, we have resources on our page just to help guide you through the journey. So that is the quickest, easiest way. It's very straightforward and laid out. Depending on which page you go to, it leads you right through how to donate to us, how to adopt from us. Just click the buttons. Everything else is automated from there, sends you a direct email to us, and then we take it from there. So it's really simple.
And if you're a donor and you want to call me, I can give you my direct line.
Yeah.
Mine is 314-338-3702. So you leave a message if I'm in a meeting. I would love to get to know you and assist you, and any of your patients, Dr. A and Dr. Salem. So we're very hands-on. Like I said, we're a small but mighty team, and we're not bots. Sometimes when we message them, I'm like, this is actually Shallow This is not AI, and they love that.
We do have some questions here. I'd love to get some things. And again, I want people to know that, come on, I mean, ask the questions. We're not going to know what to ask them. We're probably
Sure,
pretty
yeah.
boring with our questions. But here's one of the questions that came up from Juliana T23. Said, so is my information safe on your platform, and would they stay at my clinic until donated? So they're sounding like they're saying, hey, if they're at your place, is their information safe? And then what happens to their embryos? Do they stay at our place? Do they go to you? How does that work?
Okay, so yes, first off, your information is secure. It is a HIPAA compliant platform that we use. It is a third-party platform that is created by software developers. And the only people who have access to your information, like your medical records and stuff, is our company. And that's just 3 people, me, Shalstar, and our virtual assistant, Pauline. Outside of that, it is a internet-based platform. So the recipients are registered in that platform as well. And they do get to see your profile only from a recipient view. So everything is redacted, but they do still get to see like your physical characteristics and how many embryos you have, those type of details. But those are the only people that can actually ever see it, are the recipients that are registered within our program and us ourselves, the employees.
If we can accept your donation, we will set up shipment to CryoFuture. So that's what happens next. So once we review your records, and if we can't accept, we set up the shipment and pay for the shipment. And then they'll remain at CryoFuture until we actually can locate a match for you. But that's a great question.
On that same thing, when you said that they go to this, you said cryo, what was it that they went to?
CryoFuture. CryoFuture is an awesome long-term storage and embryo shipping company that we work with, and basically they're safe.
Yeah.
They have a secured storage facility. We like that much more than storing at the clinic because they have a evacuation plan, if there's weather, things like that.
There are more safeguards in process
Yeah.
long-term storage than at an actual clinic. And also with that, we take over the storage fees, so you no longer have to pay storage fees on your embryos while a match is found. Whereas if you at your clinic, you'd have to continue to pay fees.
Mm-hmm. And that's for 2 years as well.
Gotcha. So one of the other questions that came up is actually someone I know, Tamika here, said, would this be a good option for me? And I think this leads us into really a question of who is it a good option for and who is it not? Like, would there be anyone you would tell us, like, it probably wouldn't be a good option, that we don't recommend, certain couples or something? I'm assuming there must be like, for example, psychological evaluations and stuff like that to get people prepared for this. But I'd love to hear from you guys. I mean, who is the best candidate for this? I mean, she would be fantastic. She's a loving person, and she's actually going to bring me to her house to help brand some animals, by the way. So I'm excited about that. But I would say yes. I mean, absolutely, she would be. But is there certain candidates that are not candidates for you guys?
No, In short, no. So this option is a very good option for anybody who's looking for a unique way to build their families. It is a particularly good option for LGBTQ plus community. It is also about a fourth of the cost of traditional IVF. So it's a very affordable option. The only people I would say that it may not be a good option for are the ones who are ethnically torn with not carrying their own genetic materials.
Absolutely.
And is Tamika, is she wanting to donate embryos?
No, she was asking if it'd be a good option for her to use.
Oh yeah, call me.
Yeah.
Dr.
We got
Amos has my
we got
number.
to put your number on there. Yeah, we got.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Ari can maybe put that number on for you. So
All you would need to do, Tamika, is register as a recipient, and then you'll have free access to view all of the donor embryo profiles. So I'd be happy to set up a call with you. It's free. So
now, by the way, Juliana, she was appreciated us answering a question. She was saying that she was thinking about donating, but was worried that her embryo quality won't be the best to donate, but she didn't want to discard them. So I think this is a fair point here. Luckily, if there are embryos at our clinic, I can assure anyone we don't freeze anything that wouldn't get someone pregnant. So we do not freeze poor quality. Matter of fact, compared to other clinics, we don't even go down to like they go to C. We actually, even though we use a different grading system, they usually be considered like a BB at any other clinic. And so for that reason, if you have embryos with us, don't be worried about that. But is there a point where embryos are poor quality? I mean, is that something you guys screen for where you say, hey, we don't, we don't want someone to have this because it's such a low chance? I mean, it won't hurt the embryo, obviously. No one's going to have a child with some deformity or anything because of that, but it could lower the success rate. And so, how do you guys determine like which embryos are okay to be used by AOK?
So we send them to our lab team to review. We can get help from the clinical team on that and everybody's opinion, as well as a few different physicians. We want them to look at it as a whole. So when we get a profile in, we look at everything. We look at the embryo grade. We look at how they were frozen, if it was slow freeze or rapid freeze, the device they were frozen on, what media was used, if they were PGT tested or not, the age of the female when the embryos were created, if a live birth was reported. All those details go into that. So we kind of review it all in a whole and then kind of ask the opinion of the embryologist and the physician on the success rates of this. If it's a day 3 embryo or something that's just really low quality, or maybe just a single embryo, we'll lower our match fee to kind of help offset our match cost to help with that risk. But also we do bundle everything together if they have more than one embryo to help with that as well, so they have more than one chance with a match instead of just doing it individual matches and paying every single time. So really, we don't like to say no to embryos because let's face it, you already don't have an embryo, so it's a chance to have something you don't have, and we really don't like to turn down chances. We're not used to play God, so.
If we can't accept, like I said, we will refer them to another agency. I know that there are programs out there that transfer abnormal embryos, things like that. We are just not able to do that here. But we take all of those things into consideration as a whole. So we try not to reject. We try not to reject because we want to help everyone.
Well, I say, Shoutstar, of all people, right, that sometimes not high quality embryos can lead to a pregnancy.
Yes, I'll share. I went through IVF, my husband and I, and we actually transferred 2 day 3 embryos. They were untested, and I have a 5th grader. My son, his name is Leaston. And like I was telling Dr. Amos, he's really smart cookie. So you just never know. All I know is that he's walking around, this earth. So a chance is a chance. A lot of people overlook untested embryos just because that's the thing to do now is to do PGT testing. And I have a beautiful son and he was an untested embryo. So you just never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Dr. Sam, what questions you have?
I was just gonna honestly ask about a little storyline also about from AOK, and just kind of something that you guys can maybe give some of the listeners tonight, like a little glimpse into like what, like a typical, like a story like from your last month or something, or an example of the story without giving away too many details, of a person going through connecting with you guys, what that looked like, felt like. What were their questions to you? Like what are the top few questions that you guys get from couples as they're going through this, or individuals as they're going through this?
Well, yeah, it really there's a lot of different questions that we get. On the donor side, how long is this going to take? They're getting their bill, like you said. Sometimes it's a car payment, and it's coming down to the wire, and they really just want to help someone. So, like Jamie said, the first thing that we do is we just connect with them, give them a rundown of our process. Um, I always want to make sure, just as an IVF parent myself, that the donor, and I was a patient too, so I look at things from a donor perspective, that they're at peace with their decision. Once they get to our application, they're like, there's a lot of things, or our discussion, there's a lot of things that I haven't considered. And just having our talks brings clarity. What we hope to bring is some closure, especially for people that are wanting to donate. They know that we're going to take care of them. They know that we're going to hold their hand throughout the whole process, answer any questions at any time. A lot of the times on the donor side, it's how long is it going to take? And it really just depends on the clinic. So when we request records, we're at the mercy of the clinic. We do a lot of follow-up. And you guys know, you're a busy clinic. There's a lot going on. We're like, hi, it's me again, at the clinics. We just need this record. It's a team effort. And once we know that we can accept, we make sure that the donors are aware, step by step, basically. But there are a lot of questions that we get. But that's one of the main ones. How long is this going to take? And is there a cost to this? Things like that.
And for the donors, it really becomes real once we say we can accept their donation and send them that donation form. That's when sometimes we have to have additional conversations and say, look, are you really ready for this? Is this door actually closed in your life? Is it not? And is there anything else you want us to consider before we actually finalize this donation? Because we want to make sure that those embryos are going to the ideal recipient for that family. We want to make sure that we honor their wishes in the best ways that we can. So we really just create those relationships with them. And on the recipient side, that's probably my favorite. I love talking to the recipients, getting to know them, getting to know their stories, getting to cry with them, pray with them, all that kind of stuff, because you really just get invested in their overall journey. And at the end of the day, when we get somebody texting us, hey, I got 2 pink lines, or oh my gosh, here's my ultrasound picture, I just had a baby, you guys are aunties now, it's the best
Yeah.
in the world.
We've had a lot of those. We have a lot of babies coming in 2026. And some recently, just today, sent us photos of their baby. It's just wonderful.
You know,
It is a great feeling.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm like, please spam us. And I will say, last month I had one of our donors reach out to me. I'm still connected with them. They call me and see how we're doing, and they've already donated anonymously, and just I'm connected with them forever. So, and I like to stay connected with our people. It's not just like you're a number on the donor side or recipient side. Although I will say, if you're really wanting to help someone and donate your embryos, we do have close to 800 recipients now. So we don't have a waiting list. So if we can accept your donation, we try to make your profile active right away. A lot of the times here lately, people are matching before while the shipment is in process to our long-term storage facility. So if you are a donor wanting to help someone, it can be that quick.
What is the time frame with regards to, let's say, for both the recipient and the person donating? If someone wants to receive embryos, about how much time is it going to take for them? Like, if they start that process until they can do a transfer, obviously not assuming the clinic takes long, but from your side. And the same thing for someone who wants to donate their embryos. What is that process like? What's the average time they have to wait for someone to receive, to get them? Like, how long does it usually take? You said 800 people. So, I mean, do they go pretty fast, or does it still take many years?
So on average, both sides are done within 2 weeks, I would say. So
Wow.
yeah, it's really easy for the donors, especially if they already know all their information when they come in. So they just go online, they fill out their information. You already know your physical characteristics, so that's easy. Then you go in and fill out your medical history. Then you go in, and where it gets tough is kind of the IVF details. If it's been a few years, you may not remember those. So if you get stuck on those details, we just tell you to put in TBD, RC records, and whenever we get the records, we'll fill that in for you. So just skip that part, put in all that you can for us, and then submit your photos. And usually that takes about 20, 30 minutes to complete on average. Once they do that, we'll send them the form to sign. That's digital, so you can sign that within 30 seconds. We'll request the medical records. Most of the clinics get those back to us within a week to 2 weeks. Once we have the records, then we can accept the donation, shipment scheduled, and the shipment usually comes a week later. So it's a really fast process for us to get the donations in. Same thing on the recipient side. Because we get the donations in and we already house them at our laboratory that we use, they're ready to go. So if a recipient
They
came
can match within 24 to 48 hours on
if
the
they came in
recipient side.
today, clicked reserved on the profile, as long as the clinic was ready to accept, they could go ahead and pay the matching fee, and we could send them the paperwork that evening. They could have ownership of those embryos that same day that they matched.
I'm curious. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dr.
You go.
So I'm curious about kind of maybe something at a kind of a higher level as we're thinking about embryo donation and everything, which is, what about legal? What does that look like? Who takes care of that? Who's in charge of that? And then the second one is sort of related to that, but on the clinic side is, obviously, usually when there's sort of directed donations, it has to go through an FDA approved process. Can you just talk us through a little bit, since obviously the embryos were not created with that intention, what happens there? So two very different questions, but kind of related, I think.
I'd love to talk about all that, because there's a lot of misconceptions about that process, actually. So the way we work, we're a little different. We don't do directed matching, which is what most agencies do, where the agreements are attorney drawn between two different attorneys, and they have to go through legal. With us, the donors actually do a donation consent and donate their embryos into our possession, so we have legal ownership of those embryos. At that point in time, we are able to do another intended parent agreement, which is where we give the ownership to the intended parent once they complete the match. So it's a straight transfer of ownership property agreement that we have. That's how we get away with not having to do the legal attorney fees. We've never had an issue with those before. We haven't had any rejections. There is a clinic that does require them to go to an attorney and get an additional legal clearance letter, but that's just showing them the two different agreements, and then they draft a form and it's done. And it's only one clinic that requires that, but the others, we've not had any issues with parental rights or anything like that.
And we've had multiple attorneys take a look at it, and if they have their own attorney that they want to review our agreement, they can. That's no problem. We haven't had any issues with our agreements at all.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about timing. I know there's people, or at least the way I think this is done a lot, is a lot of people actually go on the Facebook and try to find their own. There's these groups on Facebook of people trying to make their own connections, and they can take years. Matter of fact, we recently had a patient of ours who has been spending like 3-4 years trying to find like the right person to donate to. Unfortunately, she just found out that the person who donated the eggs didn't allow her to donate the embryos later. So it wasn't allowed for secondary donation, which is something I would tell people that if you're ever getting, donated eggs, make sure if you're allowed to donate them, if that's something you plan on doing. Now, we now have changed our policy. We don't let anyone donate eggs at our place unless they allow secondary donation. We don't want our patients to be in that position, because again, that's half their DNA in some ways, and they feel like, hey, I want to be able to make that decision. Um, so the time that you guys do it is so much faster. I mean, than other people. I mean, you probably are more aware than I am, but I mean, for the
Yeah.
average person going on Facebook, I mean, that's going to take over a year or so.
It's going to take months because, one, you don't know what records are needed. That's
Yeah.
just expertise of being in this field, that you know what all is needed whenever you go into a lab and give that to them. So a normal person and a recipient's not going to know what to request from that donor as far as records go to give to a new clinic. Two, they're not always going to know what to request from their clinic as far as what device types do you take? What thaw media will you use?
Yeah.
What will you and won't you accept? Do you take embryos that were created for sexually intimate partners without all the FDA testing? Will you accept a waiver? Will you require retroactive testing? We do all that legwork up front.
And not only that, I will say too, on Facebook groups, if you're trying to match that way, a lot of people reach out to us because they did try that and they were ghosted. So you won't have to go through that on the recipient side or donor side because we're here with you. So, some people will find a match or think that they found a match through Facebook and they don't even know where to start, or they were talking to someone and then they said, yes, this sounds great, and then ghosted them. And that's on the donor side too. We've also had, I had a donor that reached out to us and then went over to another agency. I reached back out to them and said, hey, how are you doing at Shallstar? I was just checking in on you. That agency didn't find them a match. They went through our process and I matched them within 1 week. Done. And they had that closure that they were looking for.
Yeah.
But that's another story. Not a lot of people know about that.
It makes sense though.
If they're trying to match through Facebook or maybe another agency that takes a longer process, some of the recipient side, they're on a huge waiting list. They say I'm number 345. I don't know how long this is going to take at certain clinics if they have an internal program. And I just want to say, hey, why don't you just come over here? We have 60 some profiles and you might be a good candidate for the study profiles as well. So it's just, yeah, it's hard to see whenever a recipient or donor gets ghosted through Facebook. It's something that they don't think about. They get excited about having a potential recipient and then they just no more communication.
Well, then if it does actually ever go through, you have so many undisclosed fees now that they add up, and they often become more than what we charge anyways. So there's all that.
So the big question that everyone wants to know, and this is the thing we talked about earlier, is as Michelle here said to this question, is what do you charge? And I don't know if this is a simple answer that you guys can answer, but I'd love to know if you can answer us, what do you charge? And then if they were going somewhere else, what are those charges like at other places? I mean, outside of your place.
Sure. So we do have just a flat straight match structure. Our flat rate is $7,000, and that's just our flat rate. It includes all the embryos a donor has to donate unless the donor has asked them to be split a certain way. So it is not a per embryo basis. It's nothing like that. So with us, you're going to get that flat 7,000 fee. Like again, if they are a day 3 embryo, or if there's only one embryo in the profile, we have lowered that fee to 5,000. So 5,000 or 7,000, depending on which profile you match with. Outside of that, you're going to have 2 different fees from us. You're going to have our processing fee, which is a 3% fee if you do credit card, our $25 bank transfer fee. And then if it is a semi-open or open match, you're going to have the fee to register in the third-party platform, which is an extra $500.
And that's for a lifetime access. So that's a one-time fee for the third-party platform.
And then other than that, once your match is finalized with us and you become the recipient owner of those embryos, you become a client of CryoFuture, and you'll have 2 options, either to continue storage with them or ship to your new clinic, and you'll pay them those fees.
Gotcha. That brought up a question for someone else where they ask, can you have a donor donate directly to a recipient through your facility? So someone who wants to say, hey, I have these embryos, our clinic here doesn't, let's say, donate them, but we want to donate them to another person. So let's say we have patient A and patient B both at our clinic. Patient A wants to donate their embryos to patient B, but we are not a donation clinic. Can they use you guys to allow that direct donation to that person as long as everyone meets the criteria?
We typically do not facilitate directed donations in that sense, but we can do a backdoor option where the donor can come to us, facilitate the donation. We can pre-match them with the recipient before we allow that profile to go public if we know who the recipient is. But they both have to agree to one of our sets of terms. Like, we can't do any additional, I want to go on vacation with you, we want to meet every 3 weeks, I expect to call every Tuesday.
Believe it or not, that some people are like that. So
Okay.
our program is not like that.
That's
If
the
you
agreement.
want to, yeah, if you want to do that, you need your own attorneys.
Yeah.
But as long as you're fine with our simple structure and one of our 3 different types, we can do that, yes. It would just be our same match fee.
Gotcha. So in some ways you do it, it's just not direct in the same way. Like you said, it's almost going through your normal program. You're just preemptively matching them.
We're matching them before it's publicly released, yes.
Gotcha.
If they let us know ahead of time, we should be able to assist them.
Yeah.
Got a couple more questions for you that came up. One was they were asking their partner when they're filling out the forms, do they include their partner as well when filling out everything, all that stuff? How important is that?
It's very important if you're a recipient. If you're legally married, we need to know that you have a partner, who your partner is, because they have to sign as well. If you are not legally married, then no, you don't have to put anybody down. But if you are legally married, then yes, they do have financial responsibilities, so they'll have to be included on that as a recipient. If you are a donor and you have a secondary ownership with another person, they must also be included on the donation. They do have to sign the donation consent as well.
Gotcha.
But if you have sole ownership, no.
So Juliana, who literally has stolen the show, she is asking lots of questions here. I really should come on, Juliana. I'm telling you, you would be perfect. She wanted to know if a child is born from one of the embryos she gave. Do you let her know so she can, kind of be able to enjoy that like you guys get to enjoy when you find out someone has success?
Absolutely, yes.
It's part of our donation preferences.
Yes.
We ask you that question if you want to know when a live birth happens.
Even if you're not identified, we still can provide you with that closure. We can't say who or things like that. Yeah, but that there was a live birth. If it's semi-open or open, you will have communication with the recipient. So they're required to provide you with their frozen embryo transfer date and the outcome with both of those options. So all of that's communicated through that platform.
But if you are an anonymous closed donor, you do have the option to tell us you want to know, and we will inform you.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. She had another question. I'm not exactly sure. You need to come on here, Juliana, but she says, is there like a database to know? And I'm assuming she's saying like, is there like some type of place they can go to look at? I'm assuming the embryos or
database that stores the profiles. Yes.
Yeah.
Now she may also be asking for like a sibling registry because these are donor embryos. And if that's the case, we do not have our own sibling registry, but the donor seed community does have a sibling registry in which you can get on and give your information so that if there are half siblings out there, they can find you.
Sounds like that's what she wanted. She wrote yes. Sorry for all the machine gun questions, but we're getting near the end and they got a lot of questions coming in. Another one came up was, how common is closed donation? So that situation where they wanted to directly, how common is that, or is it more common to be open?
It used to be more common to be closed. However, the past few years, especially, and some of the new laws coming about in Oregon and Colorado, have made more lean towards semi-open. So we're seeing more and more lean towards the semi-open. That way they can get medical and lifestyle updates if they're needed versus closed and fully open.
It's
Very
about 50, I'd say.
Okay. I got one more question for you before we get near the end here, but I want to make sure I've been hogging this. So, Dr. Salem, what any questions you have? I just have kind of one last question for them before we kind of get down here tonight. But anything you have to ask?
No, I think I've asked mine. I have 1,000 more questions, but why don't you shoot away, and I'll spare mine for another time.
Yeah, I mean, my question is more of, I mean, obviously you guys are a great organization. You are very like-minded like us, with the idea that, you want to make things more affordable. You want to make sure, I mean, and in some ways, we talked about this at the beginning, whether you believe, embryos are humans or not. I know that can be controversial for some people. At the end of the day, these embryos do have the potential to become a baby. And so what you're doing is amazing, because you're giving every single one of these embryos a chance. And, there's a lot of people that struggle with this. It's something they never think of, because as Dr. Salem said in the beginning, that you don't think about it. You just want to have an embryo to get pregnant. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I have 10 embryos, and so this allows people to have that alternative option. The question I have for you is this. Not everyone maybe can use you. If someone wants to go through, someone listening tonight, not our patient, some other clinic's patient, and they're like, I really want to use donor embryos, or they want to donate embryos, not going through you, what would be their first step? Like, if they wanted to even just is there another organization, or what would you tell them to do other than obviously ask their clinic? That would be the first step, but anything else outside of you guys, just so people know that.
For me, I'm going to say research and also search your heart. Sit down, ask yourself, ask your significant other, what do we want in a recipient family for our embryos? How do we want these embryos to be raised? That way, going in what your comfort levels are and what you're looking for, and you can explain that to whoever you decide to donate to. That will also let the agencies you're working with know whether or not their company is a good choice for you. Because there are people out there like Moxie Matching who are very intimate, who go into open adoptions, who do those agreements to where it's laid out that you go on vacation, you spend every week together. Those type of really intricate details are good for Moxie Matching. Us, not good for that. So it just really depends on what you're looking for and kind of what your goals are. With Moxie Matching, it's going to take 3 months to find a match. With us, we could find a match within the same day. So it's really just your goals and how quickly you want things to go and how involved and uninvolved you want to be with things. So really search your heart on all those answers.
So for clarification, make sure I understand it. So for someone, let's say, who says, I just want to adopt a baby. I don't want to have them go into the family. I don't want the family coming to me. I just want my child, and that's it. That's what you guys are great for, is what it sounds like, as you're saying, right? But there are places you're saying for people who are like, no, I want a full relationship. I want my kids playing with their kids. I want the families to stay together. That is where this Moxie and other places come around.
Exactly. So for the recipients and the donors who want to meet the other party first and have a more intimate relationship before they approve the match, yes.
Okay.
We're more of hey, we already have the donation. We know what their donation preferences are for that donor. If the recipient meets those preferences, come on, we can fast track you, get this done, move you along.
Can people talk to each other, though, even through your program? So if they say both of them agree to it, are they allowed to talk to each other?
Not before the match. So we facilitate
after the match.
Yes. So if it's semi-open and open, as soon as the match is finalized, we put you in that third-party platform. You're required to reach out to each other within 5 days, or you're in breach of the contract.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well,
we've had no issues. We've had nobody say a horrible match. You guys did terrible. I hate this. None of that.
We're like, if you're open and you guys want to go on vacation, that's perfectly fine, you know?
Absolutely. Well, what you guys do is amazing. Like I said, there are so many. I don't think people realize how many embryos are out there just being stored and never used and stuff like that. So what you're doing is amazing. There's a lot of people who this is their only option, and so definitely appreciate your time tonight, and I appreciate working with you guys both, professionally as well. You've helped some of our patients, and we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Take your time, and just remember, there's no right or wrong choice. But if you come to us, everything will be A-okay.
A-okay, of course. Thank you, guys.
I love it. You guys have a great night.
You
All right.
too.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, got the knowledge, the power to grow. Sperm meets egg, let the healing flow. Fertile grounds, we explore. Life's a journey, so much in store. Got the knowledge, the power to grow. Sperm meets egg, let the healing flow. Step in, let's talk about the facts. Women's health, let's watch how it cracks. Cycles turning, it's more than just chance. In this moment, we're taking a stance. Voices rising, we're breaking the mold. Deep conversations, we're watching unfold. From the roots to the stars is one and the same. Empowered together, we're winning this game.